All praises to the Most High, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Racha Kodash. Double honors to the elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, laboring in His truth in all sincerity. Revelation 13 and 16. And He causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. So let's listen real carefully to what this lady here is about to say, starting at about the 35-second mark. And before I start the actual video here, this is what they do. This is the game that they play. You know, you take a far left wing, septum ring having, possible female Mo, and this will be the person that'll sprinkle in a little bit of truth, but it'll sound like a conspiracy theory. So what she's actually stating, starting at the 35-second mark, can get lost in everything else that she's saying, as well as what she looks like. But pay attention very closely to the 35-second mark here.
Case scenario is, what do you think worst case scenario is in the Trump administration going forward?
I think the worst case scenario is that we get 1930s Germany flat out, straight up. We just get 1930s Germany all over again. There's only white people, no transgender people, no minorities, only straight white upper class men are able to exist and are able to wreak havoc on the rest of society. That's the way I think that this could get worse. If you don't know, about over 1,500 immigrants have gone missing from Alligator Alcatraz, and not to about a 40-minute drive from there is the University of Miami. And at that university, they're doing human trials on for Neuralink chips in brains, and I believe that's where they're going, is they're being used as human experiments for brain chips, pretty much.
What do you think worst case scenario is in the...
Okay, so you heard her. Now, obviously, this is all speculative, and I'm not presenting this as factual. This is what she's stating that she believes. But basically, she's stating that 1,500 people are missing from Alligator Alcatraz, which is about a 40-minute drive away from the University of Miami. And they're doing human trials at this particular university, human trials for brain chips. So let's take a look at some of these comments here in the comment section. And this goes to what I was stating earlier about, she's a far left-wing person here. Septum ring, so there's already that septum ring theory that's floating around all over the internet. Possible Mo. But none of that really at this particular point really concerns me. It's more so what she said, but because of how she is or who she is in her ideology, she's already going to be made to look crazy. So you see this picture here, liberal white woman, Democrat Party, pulling her around on a leash by her septum ring. Someone here puts, this is not true. We use them for Florida puppy food. This is pertaining to the 1,500 people that are missing from Alligator Alcatraz. Maybe she needs a new hat. You see a cat there wearing a tinfoil kufi or a tinfoil hat. Completely brainwashed. Look at me. I'm an emotionally unstable liberal who can't get on with my life because Trump is president. Somebody here with a meme that says retarded. Then we have the Ruffles chips. Somebody has a actual potato chip in their forehead or in their eye going towards their brain, I should say. So this is what we have. So it goes right over people's heads, as I mentioned earlier, that what she's actually stating lines up with prophecy here. Once again, Revelation 13 and 16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. So let's take a look at Isaiah 5 and 20 as it pertains to some of those comments we just looked at. Isaiah 5 and 20. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes and prudent in their own sight. So based on that video we just watched, I had to do a little bit of fact checking on this just to see what was happening, if any of this was even, if there was any merit at all to what she was stating. So this is what I came up with. The claim of 1,500 people missing from Alligator Alcatraz is a misunderstanding of recent reports about a Florida detention center, not the historical prison on Alcatraz Island. Hundreds of migrants have disappeared from the official records of this Florida facility, sometimes referred to as Alligator Alcatraz, after being processed or held there. The facility, Alligator Alcatraz, is a nickname for the state-run detention center in Florida, not the famous former federal prison in San Francisco. What happened? Hundreds of migrants have gone missing from the official online tracking system of the Florida facility. Though not necessarily 1,500 people, lawyers report that detainees can vanish from the system, leaving their families and legal representatives in the dark. Reason for disappearance. The disappearance from official records is linked to the secretive nature of the facility and its operations, with some news reports describing it as a black site where people are disappeared. And we see that Democracy Now! Has also reported on this back in September 25th of this year. Hundreds of people who were once detained at the troubled immigration jail in Florida Everglades, dubbed Alligator Alcatraz, have disappeared. Democracy Now! Speaks with Shersho Dasgupta, a Miami Herald reporter who found that as of late August, about 2/3 of the 1,800 immigrants who were held there in July have gone missing from ICE's online database. That's off of Democracy Now! On their website, democracynow.org. Let's look at Snopes. Snopes.com. Investigation found 2/3 of more than 1,800 detainees dropped off the grid from Alligator Alcatraz. Rumors swirled online that 2/3 of the detainees were missing from Alligator Alcatraz. The Florida Migrant Detention Center assembled in 8 days and opened on July 2025. These rumors spread across multiple platforms: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X. Let's see. Some users in the comments asked Grok to verify the claim. Dozens of Snopes readers also searched for answers on site. We looked into the rumor and found that it stemmed from investigations published by the Miami Herald that claimed the whereabouts of 2/3 of more than 1,800 men detained at Alligator Alcatraz during the month of July. As of the end of August, were unknown. The Guardian reports the same thing. Miami Herald reported that hundreds of Alligator Alcatraz captives of estimated 1,800 held there in July ahead of Okay, let me pick that back up. Right here. The Miami Herald reported that hundreds of Alligator Alcatraz captives of the estimated 1,800 held there in July ahead of its legal maneuverings had since dropped off the grid. It suggests the site has become a key hub of secretive Nero program exposed by a Guardian investigation last month. So we see that several sites here, Irish Legal News is reporting the same thing. Al Jazeera.com is reporting the same thing. So let's also take a look now at what's going on at the University of Miami. This was an article put out by someone by the name of Julian Quintana, January 27th, 2025. And this is on NBCMiami.com off of their website. The University of Miami on Monday announced it will be the second U.S.-based site for Elon's Neuralink Prime study. The Prime study, or precise robotically implanted brain-computer interface, monitors and tests the safety and functionality of the Neuralink, which is an implant that allows for a wireless and digital link between a user's brain and computer. So, the video that we watched when this video first started of that young woman who stated that there's about 1,500 people missing, and there's a university 40-minute drive away that's doing human trials. So there very well could be some merit to what she's stating, but once again, I'm not pushing that out there as fact. It's just all speculative right now, just based off of a video I've seen and information that I've been able to find online. So you can draw your own conclusion with that. But that goes into what I want to actually talk about here. The men of great millstone, starting with the apostles on down to the elder bishops, have been steadfast and unwavering in this prophecy regarding Revelation chapter 13 and verse 16. And they've been very consistent for years with this and have never changed their stance. And that speaks volumes of that's character. You know, it's easy to have, differing opinions, or every few months or every few years, if you're not well studied or well versed on something, you tend to change your mind a lot. It's every little bit of news you get or every little bit of piece of research that you start doing, you start changing your stance periodically. And that is not what the men of great millstone have done. Since I've been listening to them, following them, they've been steadfast in this. And this is several years now. So, I've always admired that about them, and the fact that there's really nothing that I've heard from them in which they've ever changed their stance, particularly on this topic here. This has been what they've been stating for all along. It's a physical mark that's either going to be implanted into your hand or your forehead. So let's look at Titus chapter 2, verse 7. And you yourself must be an example to them by doing good works of every kind. Let everything you do reflect the integrity and seriousness of your teaching. Right, and that goes to what I was just stating about the men of great millstone, starting with the apostles on down to the elder bishops. Let everything you do reflect the integrity and seriousness of your teaching. They have been steadfast from day one on this particular topic, pretty much across the board as it pertains to prophecies. And, one thing that you're not going to get out of them is, any type of uncertainty. When they're bringing forth the prophecies, it's going to be what it is. The same exact thing that they've been telling you is the same thing that we now see coming to pass. It's not like a couple of other people that you probably can think of that periodically change their stance on various prophecies, and that's because they're either one, they're being disingenuous, or two, they're probably just blinded. But like Titus says, once again, chapter 2, verse 7, and you yourself must be an example to them by doing good works of every kind. Let everything you do reflect the integrity and seriousness of your teaching. But you still have people who continue to purposely be deceitful, and they dance around this topic of the MOTB with all types of miseducated guesses as to what the MOTB is or isn't. And they're going to lead a lot of people, probably including themselves, to destruction unless they repent. So I'm not going to make this long. Out in this video with 2 Peter verses 1 through 3, the dangers of false teachers. But there were also false prophets in Israel, just as there will be false teachers among you. They will cleverly teach destructive heresies and even deny the master who brought them in. In this way, they will bring sudden destruction on themselves. Many will follow their evil teaching and shameful immorality. And because of these teachers, the way of truth will be slandered. In their greed, they will make up clever lies to get hold of your money. But Allahayim condemned them long ago, and their destruction will not be delayed. So let's go back up here to verse 1. But there were also false prophets in Israel, just as there will be false teachers among you. They will cleverly teach destructive heresies and even deny the master who brought them in. Right, and this is why you see, the ever-changing doctrines with these guys. The Most High Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai is unchanging. He doesn't change. So you can see which particular group out here doesn't change, that has had the same stance, the same exact interpretation and breakdown of these prophecies from the beginning. And you can clearly see, you can compare and contrast that with a lot of other groups. And these other particular groups, they keep changing, but then they say that they're using their words Christ-like. Well, the scriptures tell us that the Most High Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai doesn't change. And this is what sound doctrine is. Sound doctrine is being able to look back 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and the same exact thing that they were teaching is what they still are teaching. If you're going to walk in the footsteps or walk the same path as Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, you have to be unchanging. You have to be unchanging and steadfast in your approach, just as he was. Or you try to the very, very, very best of your abilities to do so. You can't say that your words Christ-like if you can't follow the Messiah, Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. Also, they will cleverly teach destructive heresies and even deny the master who brought them in. Yeah, every single time you deny using his name, the Most High, the Heavenly Father's name is Yahweh. His only begotten Son's name is Yahweh Shai, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. If you can't say those names and you're trying to replace those names or substitute those names for names such as Jesus or Christ or Yahuwah or Yahusha, Jehovah, or whatever other names that you have, you're actually denying the master. You're denying him. If you can't say his name or call upon his name, but you're trying to teach in his name, you're denying him. You may not see it that way, but you're in denial, and you are denying the master. You are denying the Messiah, just as the NLT right here says. It uses master, and the KJV it says even denying the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai brought them and bring upon themselves swift destruction. Many will follow their evil teaching and shameful immorality. Yeah, it's like saying the new moon is the full moon. And the one thing I've always been confused with that is, you say the new moon is the full moon, but you turn around and call yourself a prophet in the same sentence. And it's like, how can the new moon be the full moon and you call yourself a prophet? If the Most High, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, said on the next full moon, you go out there and you say, thus saith Yahweh, such and such, such and such, you would go out there on the next new moon and you would fail. You would essentially fail. If the Most High tells you to go out there on the next full moon and say, thus saith Yahweh, you would go out there on the next new moon because you think it's the same thing. So how can you call yourself a prophet? And it goes back to what this video was initially about concerning the MOTB, the micro C hip. If you can't see by now that the MOTB is indeed the micro C hip, then you probably should not be calling yourself a prophet. But this is what verse 2 is stating here in 2 Peter chapter 2. Many will follow their evil teaching and shameful immorality. And because of these teachers, the way of truth will be slandered. That truth being that the RFID micro C hip is indeed the mark of the beast. This is undoubtable. This is unshakable here. So in their greed, they will make up clever lies to get hold of your money. Yes, they're all style over substance. But Allahayim has condemned them long ago, and their destruction will not be delayed. I hope this has been edifying and reaches the ears it's supposed to reach. Shalom.